true faith and allegiance to the same.
I do.
That you take this obligation freely, without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion.
I do.
And that you will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office on which you are about to enter, so help you God.
I do.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you. What a moment. Thank you, everyone, so much for being here today, for joining us today. I want to begin by offering my thanks to everyone here, both physically and in spirit. Thank you to all of our elected officials that were here today to offer their kind words and their presence. I cannot thank you all enough. Thank you to our local community leaders and organizers, Samelis Lopez and Aisha Gomez, for their remarks and for their continued work and leadership in the community. Thank you to our ASL interpreters who are expanding the access here to make sure that all people, regardless of ability, can enjoy this moment. Thank you to our color guard from our Junior Explorers program. Thank you to our Star Spangled Banner singer, Luis Ocasio-Gonzalez. No relation, but it's a good year for Ocasios. And our spoken word artist, Alicia Martinez, of this very high school, the Renaissance School of Musical Theater and Technology. Thank you to my family, to my cousins who taught me to treat everyone like a prima or primo, to my mother who cleaned houses to give me every opportunity I ever had, and who taught me to always be proud of who we are and where we come from, no matter what. I want to thank my father, whose memory taught me how to have tough skin while maintaining a sense of humor and a love of neighbor. Lastly, I want to thank each and every single one of you. Thank you for being here, for choosing to gather in community today, and for showing up, because that is the single most important factor in creating and improving community, choosing to show up for each other. So thank you all very much. Gracias a todos por venir aquí hoy. Gracias por ser presente, y quiero agradecer a cada uno de ustedes. Gracias por estar aquí, por elegir estar hoy con la comunidad y por hacerse presentes, porque ese es el factor más importante para crear y mejorar a nuestra comunidad. El elegir estar presente el uno para el otro. Gracias. Wow. We've had quite a first 6 weeks. It would have been earlier, but the government was shut down for a month. We entered and we were sworn in to a government shutdown. We had to navigate a situation, a hostage situation, where Republicans took every federal worker's paycheck hostage in order to build an unpopular wall that the majority of the American people don't want. But we ended it, and we got through it, and we defeated it. But I want to make clear that while us as elected officials negotiated a great deal during that time, it wasn't us who ended the government shutdown. It was you. It was Bronx and Queens residents like Mr. Obed of Morris Park, a JFK air traffic controller and a Yemeni immigrant who called me on the same week that the second paycheck was about to be missed by federal workers. And he told me his story. I spoke with Mr. Obed for about 30 minutes on the phone, and I was able to translate his story into a speech on the House floor. Because in a time when the government was shut down, they were trying to pit federal workers against immigrants. They were trying to hold a paycheck hostage to get people to approve a wall that they knew was wrong. But the thing about New York City is that our federal workers know that we cannot be separated. And Mr. Obed was a perfect example because he was a federal worker that was also an immigrant. We know that these issues, economic, social, and racial, cannot be separated apart to split us apart. We have to reject those binary choices outright. And when we told that story on the floor of Congress, it very quickly became the most viewed video on C-SPAN by a House member of all time. That moment and that gesture was just one puzzle piece of the increasing public pressure that made the shutdown untenable. But every single step of that belonged to everyday people. The Green New Deal that we introduced 2 weeks ago, which was an amazing step forward. When we first were engineering it, before it was introduced, they were saying she's divisive. She's too confrontational. No one will sign on to a single piece of legislation that she introduced. And then the first day, we were able to introduce a resolution in both chambers, co-sponsored by every presidential candidate and every Democratic presidential candidate, and 65 House members. And I'd also like to thank my colleague, Adriano Espaillat, Congressman Espaillat from the Heights here, who was one of our early co-sponsors as well. Now that number has climbed to 84 co-sponsors in the House in just 1 week. That is what the power of the people looks like. Because the Green New Deal is not my legislation. The Green New Deal is the legislation of indigenous communities in the United States. The Green New Deal is the legislation of the residents of Flint. The Green New Deal belongs to the people of Puerto Rico. The Green New Deal belongs to the coal miners in West Virginia. It belongs to the victims of wildfires in California. And when we center our communities and allow them to lead, anything is possible. Anything is possible. Last week, we actually had the passing of the longest-serving member of the House in American history, John Dingell. Representative John Dingell came of age and saw FDR sign critical elements of the New Deal into law. He served for decades in the House, and he had passed away last week, and the House chaplain was presiding over his funeral. And one of the things that he said that I thought was very important was that something that Mr. Dingell understood, something that I think many progressives understand, that those that operate in the legacy of the New Deal, of New Deal Democrats, but also progressive activists and frontline activists alike, is that we do not have power as elected officials. We hold power as elected officials. We steward power for others and for our community. But that power does not belong to us. That power is created by our communities, and that's what allows things to be influential in the first place. And so I want to thank each and every one of you again for being here and taking up that presence, because what I'm going to ask you today is to continue to build power, here at home. Because as we've seen, when we stand up and say that dignity for immigrants, a living wage, an economic and ecological future is not up for negotiation, and we will not take no for an answer for dignity for working people in the United States of America. That when it comes to our right to health care, our right to migrate, our right to live, our right to be paid a dignified wage, we will not take no for an answer. We will not take no for an answer. But the only way that we can get that done is with the wind at our backs, with the power generated by community. So I want to ask you for 3 things today. And the first thing that I'm going to ask you for is to be brave. I want you to be brave with us, because the only way that we can continue to push the issues forward is if we're unafraid to speak truth to power and to stick to our guns. Because what is right is not always what is popular, and what is popular is not always what is right. When we stand up for the rights of people of color, they will say, why are you being divisive? When we stand up for the rights of immigrants, they'll say, what about us? And what we are here to do is reject the zero-sum mentality that another person's gain must necessitate another's loss. We reject that world. We reject that world, we reject that form of economics, we reject that form of politics. We do not have to reject economic growth for social dignity and vice versa. We can have both. We can have both. And so I want you to be brave with us, because that courage, even though what is right is not always what is popular and vice versa, when we have the courage to stand and advocate for our values, we can make the right thing the popular thing. We can. But it can't just be me, and it can't just be up to any one of us. We have to do that as a community. The second thing that I'm going to ask is to work alongside us. Not just work with us, but to work alongside us. I'm going to ask you today to consider doing things like joining your PTA, or to maybe show up to your community board meeting for the first time, or to lead a Girl Scout troop. Yeah! I'm a former Girl Scout, so I have to do the plug. Cookie season, guys. I want to ask you to engage in your community. You know, so often here in New York City, we can go years living on our floor and never knock on our neighbor's door. And I'm asking you to knock on your neighbor's door. I'm asking you to check in on each other, to talk to people that you've never talked to before. In fact, let's take a moment, and I want you to turn around and shake the hand of everyone around you. And greet them. I should have done that at the beginning. Sorry, guys. And just like that, we can create community. It really just takes that invitation to do that. It really takes that pause to get to know and really see the faces of the people around us. It's so easy, the culture of our city, to just, head down, walk to the subway, go to work, do your thing, and come back. But when we actually take the moment to look up and look at the people around us, to see that if you do it enough, the faces on the subway start to become familiar, then it allows us to fight for each other. So I'm asking you to work alongside us in creating that community, because the more we create that community here in the Bronx and the more that we do it in Queens, the more powerful we become, the more capable of change we are. And we did see that this week. Because when we do that, and when we fight for ourselves, and we say, it's not just about any job, we need to have a dignified job. We need to create dignified jobs in New York City, jobs that pay well, jobs that contribute to community, jobs that are part of a moral economy. We do not have to settle for scraps in the greatest city in the world. We do not. We deserve more, and we can ask for more, and if people don't want to negotiate, that's their problem, not ours. And the last thing I want to ask for today is to have a relationship with us. with our office. You know, I want to recognize all of the folks from our office that are here today, starting with our district director. If you could stand up, Maribel, Shoika, Noreen, Dan, Claudia. Stay standing if you guys can. Claudia, Clarissa. They're not here. Randy. They're not here right now, but Dan's here. Sorry, I'm like looking. Annika, they may not be here right now, but Ariel Ekblad, Kingsley, Corbin. This is your team. These are your public servants. And I want you to know their faces. I want you to see them, because when you call our office on the phone, this is who is going to pick up. And this is who's going to be working for you in addition to me. So give them a big round of applause. Thank you, guys. Because we're all in this together, and so what I want to ask you all today is to have a relationship with us. Because, you know, things happen in the news, this, that, and the other. If you ever ask, why is she doing that? Pick up the phone and call us and ask. Because our job is to prioritize our constituents and our community first. We get like 3,000 voicemails every weekend, but most of those are not people from the Bronx. So understand, and I want to ask you to have a relationship with us, because the only way that we can continue to navigate and advocate for the community is when the community tells us how they feel. So, you know, don't make it a big to-do. Don't get nervous. Know that the people who are going to pick up, our job is to listen, and our job is to advocate and to connect. So invite us to your local events, invite us to your block, invite us to your PTA, invite us, and we will invite you. And so I just want to let you all know that we do have that plan charted out. We're going to be committing to having a town hall every month as long as it's logistically possible. And we want to create that culture of engagement again. You know, we're going to be setting up 2 district offices, one in Queens and one in the Bronx. And I'm really excited for this. And I want to thank the community for their patience in that as well, because what we decided to do was, instead of simply continuing in the older spaces, we were going to create 2 brand new community spaces for each borough. And so Noreen and Maribel have been really taking the lead on that. I thank them both. That's what our mural contest is for. So if you have anyone, whether younger or older or whomever, of artistic talent, you know, we're inviting you all to kind of bless these spaces with your art. And so thank you all again so much. Create that community. Be brave alongside us. Be unafraid to advocate for issues that perhaps may be controversial today, but 30 years from now, your children and your grandchildren are going to be thankful that you stood up for what was right. So thank you all again so much, and I'm so looking forward to the next 2 years that we have together. Thank you.
Thank you all for coming out and sharing this monumental moment. And thank you all to the presenters for making this day so special with your presence. And special thank you to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez